A few days ago, I had the opportunity to pose a question on the future of the Ukraine resolution. At that time, you made an important remark that has sparked response and discussion. Given President Zelensky's decree banning negotiations with Russia, any hypothetical talks that might take place would be deemed illegitimate, and their results illegal at any moment. This statement resonated widely. The following day, Zelensky began making excuses, saying that he had not entirely banned any negotiations. He claimed to have reserved the option for himself, explaining that he issued the decree while Russian troops were near Kiev, and justified it as a necessary measure to combat separatism and to preemptively address potential shadow negotiations with Russia through various channels. He concluded by asserting his role as the leader of the negotiations, emphasizing that he had banned others from engaging in discussions. What could you respond?
We launched negotiations immediately following the beginning of the special military operation. Initially, we communicated to the Ukrainian leadership that the people in the LNR, Lugansk People's Republic, and DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, did not wish to remain part of Ukraine. We advised them to leave, which would be the end, meaning no hostilities or war. They refused and chose to fight. However, they agreed to negotiate right away, at the end of February 2022. It led to talks and meetings in Belarus, followed by discussions in Istanbul. What was happening there? Around late March, we received a document from Kiev, notably signed by the head of the Ukrainian negotiating team, Mr. Arakamia. It is crucial to highlight that these Ukrainian proposals formed the foundation of the draft peace treaty elaborated in Istanbul, which took place on April 15th. Earlier, several European leaders said to me over the phone that Ukraine could not sign a peace treaty. As one colleague put it, I even mentioned his name before, with a gun to its head. I agreed, asking what should be done. To withdraw troops from Kiev. While we were aware that deception had been a tactic employed against Russia for decades, we agreed to this step to prevent large-scale bloodshed and avoid a major conflict. At the end of March, the withdrawal of troops from Kiev suburbs began, in 2 columns and 2 directions. By April 4th, this withdrawal was complete, with some troops leaving through Belarus, while others returning directly to Russia. It was accomplished by April 4th. The draft agreement we reached in Istanbul was finalized on April 15th. There were no remaining Russian troops in Kiev by that time. On the same day, despite some questionable provisions highlighted by the Foreign Ministry and other agencies, I confirmed our readiness to implement the document. On the evening of April 15th or 16, we communicated to Kiev our agreement to sign it. There was little left to work on. Only one question that the Ukrainian side proposed to reach an agreement on at a personal meeting between the 2 presidents, which I also accepted. However, we soon received information from Kiev that they needed to consult with their allies and would be taking a week-long pause. Consultations took place, including, as you may know, a visit from then British Prime Minister Mr. Johnson. Apparently, they persuaded Ukraine to continue the conflict, likely at the suggestion of the former U.S. administration led by Mr. Biden. Honestly speaking, this is no secret. High-ranking Ukrainian officials publicly acknowledged it, as did British leadership. They rejected the agreement and chose to pursue the war instead. They rejected the agreement and decided to continue the war. We immediately received signals from Kiev. They told us, "Now we will fight to the last Ukrainian until either we take you or you take us. In general, we will fight." They decided not to sign the peace agreements. But I repeat, on April 4th, 2022, there were no Russian troops near Kiev. The agreements were finally agreed on April 15th, and the decree banning negotiations was signed at the end of September and came into force on October 4th. In other words, 6 months after the draft peace agreement was agreed. That is why it is completely incorrect to say that the ban on negotiations was introduced when Russian troops were standing near Kiev. And that is why it is at least incorrect to try to mislead your society and the international community on such serious issues. But this only underlines once again who we are dealing with.
Zelensky says he's open to negotiations. Do you think it is possible to negotiate with him?
You can negotiate with anyone, but because of his illegality, he, Zelensky, has no right to sign anything. If he wants to take part in the negotiations, I will appoint people to conduct them. The issue is the final signing of the documents. This is a very serious issue that must guarantee the security of both Ukraine and Russia for a serious long-term historical perspective. There cannot be a single slip, not a single roughness. Everything must be perfect. But according to the Constitution of Ukraine, the President of Ukraine does not have the right to expand his powers, even under martial law. Only the representative bodies of power, only the Rada, the country's parliament, have the right to extend powers. And the President only has a 5-year term. That's it, nothing more. After that, his powers are transferred to the chairman of the Rada. But if there is a desire to negotiate and find compromise solutions, then let anyone else conduct these negotiations. We will, of course, pursue what suits us, what suits our interests. But as far as signing documents is concerned, everything should be done in such a way that lawyers confirm to us the legitimacy of those people who will be authorized by the Ukrainian state to sign these agreements.
And they should repeal the decree banning negotiations, right?
Well, yes. If we start negotiating now, it will be illegitimate. There is, I haven't talked about it here, but I will say that there is really a problem. Why? Because when the current head of the regime, that's the only way I can call him today, signed this decree, he was a legitimate president, but now he can't revoke it because he's illegitimate. That's the trick, the ambush, you see, the trap. But basically, if they want to do it, there is a legal way to do it. Let the representatives of the Rada do it in accordance with the Constitution. If there is a desire, it is possible to close any issue of a legal nature. Well, so far we don't see any such desire. Well, I think that his Western sponsors cannot exist. They will not last a month if the money and the ammunition stop. Everything will be over in a month and a half or two. In this sense, Ukraine's sovereignty is almost nil. If there is a desire on the part of their Western sponsors to achieve peace, well, the way is very simple. I once sent a corresponding signal about this. If there is a desire, everything is welcome. And then they will quickly find all legal ways to resolve legal issues, including the cancellation of this decree banning negotiations.